Get 'em.
Welcome, folks. Y'all come on in and make yourself at home. This here, well, this is the Rolling Thunder Podcast, your home for all things Rolling Thunder. This episode is brought to you by Mossy Oak, because everything is better in Bottomland. Kent Cartridge, quality matters. Performance counts. Shen Gear, waterfowl gear that is built better. And Benelli USA, dominate the skies.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Rolling Thunder Podcast.
Hey, buddy.
What's up?
Not too much. Not too much.
Starting to feel like springtime outside.
It definitely feels like springtime. Turkeys are gobbling. I've seen a few strutters. Y'all been listening pretty well every day this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's drawn up a blank yet.
No, well, no one's gotten skunked yet. Drake didn't hear any this morning, but he saw. Well, no, I take that back. He did hear some. He didn't hear any on the roost, but he did hear some. So no one's been skunked yet on the scouting trips.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to get. I think the cold weather's coming back in, but
yeah.
2 or 3 days of beautiful warm weather has got them feeling froggy.
Uh-huh.
So it's definitely time to change gears.
Yeah. Thinking about sneaking down to Mississippi in the morning.
I wish we had a kid that hadn't already missed like a gazillion days of school. I know one that would like to shoot another one.
Public service announcement. If your kid wants to shoot a turkey in Mississippi, give us a call.
Yeah, no doubt. They must shoot a 20 gauge and they must shoot straight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, today we've got a pretty cool interview, and this is not going to be a giant name that I think a whole bunch of people know, although the people that need to know.
Mm-hmm.
We got one of our employees. His name is Mark Brown. Mark operates our HAAS machinery. We've got a CNC lathe, a CNC mill, and we've got a second lathe on its way.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark is the man that knows how to manipulate those machines, program them, and run them. And so every duck call, barrel, band, insert, they all get made right here in the shop by Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a million things that have changed in the last, say, year and a half around here. But the ability to manufacture our own calls as we need them or in batches, but to maintain quality control of that is such a big deal in the world of duck calls. And it's been a differentiator for us, for me specifically, and for Rolling Thunder, having production in-house, being able to check every one of them and make sure that we're building the same thing, it has just really been a big deal.
Yeah.
And so Mark's scared to death to get on here.
Yeah.
But
he's terrified.
Yeah. And you'll be able to hear the fear in his voice when this interview starts. He's a lot more colorful and got a lot more personality than what he's going to show in this interview. But anyways, without any further ado, this is Mark Brown, and he is the head machinist here at Rolling Thunder Game Calls. So when you order a duck call, you can rest assured it's coming
The magician took care of it.
That's right. This is the Wizard of Oz, the Wizard of Duck Calls. So anyways, here we go. All right, everybody's audio okay?
Yep.
Turn my ear, the volume in my ear down just a little bit. I'm hearing a little bit of mouth breathing too much.
That's good?
Better. Yeah,
okay.
That's better.
You good, Mark?
That'll be me.
The mouth breathing? Well, speaking of that, go ahead and move the microphone up a little closer to your.
There you go.
Give us a little check.
Check.
All right.
Coming in good. I can hear him fine.
Everything look good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we've got one of our VIP, MVP, there's our old
again.
buddy Drake. I mean, as soon as we get to talking about something. Hey, Mariana, Would you go tell Drake to crawl in a hole somewhere with that duck call? Will you go tell Drake to crawl in a hole somewhere with that duck call? Tell him we're trying to record.
I swear, it's like he knows.
He knows, yeah.
He knows when it's lunchtime. He knows when it's time to go, and he knows when we're trying to do a podcast.
Without a clock.
Yeah, without a clock.
like an old shop dog. At 4:57, he starts wagging his tail
stirring.
and
What time
stretching
is
his legs. So, anyways, on today's episode, we've got one of the. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, you know, the man behind the curtain. I mean,
I was going to say unsung hero.
Well, it's hard to imagine that Drake wants us to. He can't help himself. He go in. Oh, really? Oh, BSOD sounds pretty good. Oh, well, you might as well hit a lick on it while we're recording. Sounds pretty good. Great. Now hybrids are going to be collectible, and you know. I don't know what he said. Something.
I don't either.
Anyway, so Mark Brown is joining us, and Mark is the master of the machine shop, I guess is a good title.
Yeah.
Do you talk, Mark?
Not much. I usually
Only
do.
when he's talked to.
He's over there nodding and everything. Like nonverbal cues don't count
That's
on a podcast,
exactly right.
Mark.
No smell-o-vision here.
Well, I basically just wanted to get you on the podcast because of all the things in calendar year 2022 that changed our business, having you and Crystal and Kobe living in Fayette County and running those machines back there has definitely been on the top of the list. And I'm proud of that. I think you're proud of it most days, and kind of wanted to give the world a chance to get to know who Mark is.
Well, here we are. Yeah, I've been
Here I
blessed
am.
to been invited to come over and make duck calls in Tennessee. I'm happy. I'm doing something that I enjoy, and I know I'm doing the right thing.
How you like Tennessee so far?
Tennessee has opened their arms and welcomed me. It's been overwhelmingly just generous.
Well, good. You don't have to say anything bad about Arkansas, but
I couldn't because I was there all my life, so I wouldn't know what to say bad about it.
we ain't got the skeeters y'all got over there.
There was a couple things I was going to say
State
that
bird.
I missed, and one of those is the mosquitoes, so I do not miss that. So
We got them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for a man who grew up in a rice field, on the edge of a rice field, I mean, this feels a little like heaven.
when I first moved across the river, everybody'd say, "We got mosquitoes over here," and I'm like, "No,
No, you don't.
We don't have mosquitoes over here."
Y'all got some gnats, but
Exactly.
them big $50 size zebra-backed
That's right.
skeeters that live in
Broke
Arkansas
out of
County.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
What part of Arkansas are you from?
From Humphrey. All my life, I went to kindergarten there, graduated high school there. Never really knew anything but Balmeda. That was all I did. I stayed in the woods when I was young, squirrel hunting, deer hunting. Didn't start duck hunting until I was probably 18, 19 years old. Daddy always told me we was too poor to duck hunt, so that was one of the things.
Oh,
you know,
dang.
it was. So you listened to Daddy up until that point, and then I had my own money, so I was like, I didn't have much of it, but I'd be like, I may miss a meal or two, but I'm going duck hunting in the morning. So whichever way it goes.
That's funny.
Then I got the passion for it, so it fell in. Me and my wife first got married, and boy, I chased them. I worked at Lennox night shift, and boy, every morning we'd be up at least 4 or 5 mornings in the week chasing after them ducks. And
What
boy,
time did you get off from the night shift?
10 o'clock. 10
PM?
o'clock. Yeah, 10 o'clock at night, and come in and get you a little something to eat and try to wind down a little bit, get you a shower, and then go to bed, and right back up the next morning. Usually had 2 or 3, 4 buddies that was going to go, so there's never no backing out. You always had to.
So is that like second shift?
Yep.
2 in the what time did you start in the afternoon?
2 to 10, and I worked there. I guess I did that about 7, 8 years at Linux.
That sounds like a good way for a duck hunter
I did that about 7, 8 years at Linux.
That sounds like a good way for a duck hunter to die.
Well,
I mean, that's just you get home just in time to get 3 hours of sleep and think you can do it again the next morning. Don't have to be at work until lunchtime.
That's some high motor stuff right there.
I would do it 3 or 4 mornings out of the week, and then I'd just be falling on my face. My wife's like, either we're getting a divorce or you're getting some sleep, one of the two. But, what do you do when you first married? You do about anything for money. I mean, that was legal anyway. So I worked at Linux, and night shift was the only thing. You could either work 2 to 10 or 10 to 6 the next morning. So that was going to cut into the duck hunting. So that was... So yeah, I was all part of the Balmeda, Suzuki, everybody running and acting crazy, running down the ditch and everything before it all kind of got managed up there a little bit.
Yeah. What'd you do at Linux?
I was actually a machine operator. I built doors. I did a big automated machine that built doors.
And Linux, the air conditioning, heating and air conditioning.
That's exactly. We made all the commercial units there. Anything from probably a 3.5 to a 7-ton, all the way up to probably a 40-ton. So huge. Walmart had a big line that we did, and just anybody else that commercially had air conditioners.
And so you machined the doors that went on those units.
That's right.
With a mill, or
no? It came in big rolls. Metal came in sheet rolls, and I did about everything throughout the whole plant. And I could run the machine that we would coil it off with. We'd coil it in certain diameter, certain length sheets. Take it somewhere else and bend it, fold it, paint it. At one time we had a paint line. You just hang doors up and send it through, and they'd paint it.
Did it look like our paint booth out behind the barn where we spray the pots, or is it a little
this was
shinier
a little more
than that?
higher tech. It had a big assembly line that just kept moving, and there was guys that stood there and hung pieces of metal and things at all times. That was their job full time.
Huh. And how long did you do that at Linux?
Probably worked there 7 years, something like that, 7, 8 years.
Okay. And from Linux, you went to R&T, or did you do the print shop?
No, I started printing then. I went to Drummond. I printed paper. Man, I printed paper for a long time. And the reason I got there was just it was a day shift job. Mm-hmm. And my wife told me, she was like, all right, you got to do something other
I'm
than
tired of
night
this
shift.
10 o'clock,
Yep.
and you get home at 11. She's asleep for an hour already, and you're...
The kids had done started school, so it really started kind of...
You had to grow up.
That's right. So...
Speaking of kids, how many kids do you have?
I do have 2. I've got a little boy and a little girl.
Okay. How old are they?
21 and 22.
I was just fixing to say, is a little boy different than the 6'2" boy you got in the engraving room right now?
He's a little taller than I am. But,
You find out he's little when he shows up late. Mark make him little in a hurry. I love it. He's the best HR. I don't have any HR
Risk
problems
management.
out of Mark's kids.
I can promise you hire anything that's affiliated with me, he ain't going to get no sugar loaf or no easy way out. He's going to work.
Oh, so you printed for a while, like offset printing?
Yeah,
what'd you do there?
I did offset printing. I did some UV printing that would cure right out of the belt. Coating. Man, I did a little bit of everything there. I was always into something. A lot of times I'd just kind of float, maybe doing, somebody didn't make it in or something. You just kind of move this machine, that machine. Mm-hmm. But a lot of offset printing. Then the last of it there, I really enjoyed what I was doing there. I got to do the UV part of things, and it was pretty cool. It was new age stuff. And then saw where Rich and Tone had needed a job and or had a job open, so I talked to Rusty there for a little while and ended up going out there to work. I worked there about 5 years. Got experience, man, to meet some really good people. Met Jimbo, met Drake, met John, Rusty, through the whole situation. Blake, the whole crew there, man, they're up stand people. They're good people to work with.
Top-notch place.
I've learned so much, and you learn a lot through your whole life. But just when you become a sponge and you're willing to absorb some things, man, it's crazy the things you can learn and just take in. But yeah, it's been a different journey for us coming over here. But we were questioning, hey, what's really going on? What's in our life? And our son, he's 21 years old, so he can do basically what he wanted to. And me and Crystal sat down and talked about it, and we were ready. We were ready for a different change, a new environment. And when we did that, we changed a few things in our life, and took inventory of some things that we needed to inventory and got rid of a few things that we needed to let go of. So it was a good diet.
She had some weight.
That's it. That was absolutely it.
I was lean and mean when you got here, and I feel like I've gained every pound that you've lost.
Well, when I got here, that was kind of my fallback shield, so I fell back on the Little Debbie's and gained me some weight. And I told the wife after Christmas, I was like, we got to do something different. So
y'all have done a good job.
Well, I appreciate it. It's diet's always a work in progress. So
always. So at Lennox, what kind of machines did you run?
I started off running some little old punches. It was kind of an entry level. You could tell everybody through the door, here's your landing spot you got over here. And I guess, not to sound boasty, but I guess they could see a little potential. So they're like, okay, here we go. We're going to guide you over here. And I got in with a guy named Michael Danley. He was a real good guy. He kind of took me in his wing, and showed me the schematics of these machines and everything, and it really did me good. It opened up a door for me that, when somebody needs you in a business, your need there is a lot bigger. And that he opened up that door. So once I got into the little old press brake thing, he kind of showed me the automated thing. Well, these guys, you would have two guys stand on a press brake, break doors the size of these tables here, and they'd break 40 or 50 and be slap wore out. It'd hand me 500 and I'd break them in a night. But it's on an automated machine that just picks it up, suckers it, drops it, puts it in the machine, does its thing, and then back out the way. So it was pretty cool. It was big machines, something that you don't see many of these big machines around like that. These were ground shakers. They would put some of these orifices in top of these units and stuff, and it would move the earth up in that building.
Did y'all have lathes and mills? Where did you learn to be an operator of CNC equipment?
R&T.
I'll be dang.
When I walked out there, I had operated machines, knew how to run a tape measure, blueprints, because Lennox taught me all that. They sent you to a little old class. So the most part, as long as you know your numbers, know decimals and everything like that, you could do things. But when I went out to Richington, it was I just kind of got it, hey, here, and not necessarily. I'm not sure they expected me to want to do it. Well, when I got it, man, I just started feeding off of it. I loved it. I don't know. It is my passion. I'm glad that the good Lord opened that door, that I finally got to do something that I wake up in the morning and it's exciting. You do something that not just everybody does. Not that you walk in a building, you're like, man, everybody does this, or everybody's it's pretty cool, so.
There's nobody that comes to work here every day and thinks, I got to do the same thing everybody else did today.
No. And that's the cool thing about that shop back there. There's always something that's challenging you. And I'd rather work a challenge, because I like to come in the morning. I'd rather go to work. And it, like y'all saying, Drake, I didn't even look at the clock. Lord, is it quitting time?
Yeah.
It just sneaks up on you. It makes that day go by quick. So,
Well, so did you just take naturally to the G code and to manipulating that stuff? And I mean, you've learned a lot of stuff on the job in a short period of time.
Obviously, you know my buddy Ben. He taught a lot of just kind of that starter, that door, you know, opening up. But like I said, it's that passion. Mm-hmm. You know about making duck calls or making whatever you're doing, but it's something that you love. Mm-hmm. So once you love it, it's
you work a little harder at it.
You'll go home and work at it.
Yeah.
So when you're willing to take it home and do homework, or I remember y'all at Richington, I'd take the book, the HAAS machine book, take it home and read it. I mean, you couldn't interest me now to read. I'm good without that. But that machine, you know, I wanted to learn more. I wanted to do more. So, I took the book home and read, and more internet, more Google, YouTube, and all of that. You know, that was a lot of where I learned.
That's pretty crazy.
It's wild.
It also says to me, I marvel at seeing people's gifts. You know, like I enjoy making duck calls every day. When I get up, I'm excited to come here and see us make duck calls. But I could sit there and try to read that HAAS manual a million times over, and that's just not the way the good Lord has wired me. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing to me to see a guy like you who's clearly wired that way, and like you've done different things in your life, but when you get to a spot where it's like that's the sweet spot, you know, then it doesn't – I don't really like that old adage that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, because I think work is always – there's a part of work that's always work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's never it's not just heaven. But it does get easier when you enjoy what you're doing and when it fits your gifting, you know what I mean? And
I think something else that can be said, talking about it adding to his gift, is watching Kobe work with him and watching how interested and how much he wants to learn based off of what you know and how much he already knows at 21 years old. You know?
He hadn't taught you anything yet, has he?
Yes, he has.
He don't listen to the podcast, though, so we don't have to tell him, right?
I hope not, anyway.
And he's in the HAAS school, which is a pretty cool benefit of y'all moving over this side of the river, just proximity, huh?
I want to tell it was a funny story. We were lost, me and my wife we were looking for something to eat. He had finished his little engineering degree back in Arkansas, and we was really unsure what we were doing next for him. Mm-hmm. And we pull up to the road, and I'm looking at her crazy because she's done got us lost. She's the operator of the map and everything. So I'm like, what are you doing? And I look over, and I see a big HAAS sign. Uh-huh. Immediately, we throw the blinker on me, and her rolls up in there. She gets out at the door, walks in, talks to the people, said, we got 25 openings. It's going to open up next month. I was like, this is absolutely crazy. You know, she comes back out. We talk about it a little bit, which we had been talking and praying about it. We wanted to do the right thing and wanted him to be in the right situation, because everybody wants their kid to succeed. And the best way to have a kid succeeding is to help their way out, to make the road a little easier to walk on. So, well, with that being said, anyway, we went out that afternoon. We was like, all right, this is it. Well, we signed him up, and he was accepted, and there it is. Well, he had got to the point. College was about like high school. I've had me all I want, and I'm done with it. I'm ready to go to work. Well, he told me the other day, he's like, this is the best thing I've ever done. It's really been good for me. I've learned a lot, and things like that. So I guess another thing, let you know when you're in the right scene, in the right situation, when everybody's kind of happy and it works out at your house like that. So
that's fantastic. Well, he's doing a good job, and I know he's learning a lot, and it's pretty cool to see the things he's learning state of the art compared to the things you're learning from reading the manual. You know what I mean? I can tell y'all are in there comparing notes a lot. What would you say, what's your favorite part about making a duck call, or favorite part of your job?
I guess the number one, my favorite, is just being in a shop. I like the environment. That's my home in there. I like tools. I like, anything that, like I said, challenging. I don't want anything's easy, it almost seems like something ain't right. So I keep double checking myself. I'd almost rather it be a little hard. Well, it's pretty easy for it to be hard in them type environment in there because just, the enormous things that could go wrong at any point in time, from drill bit to a tool breaking or anything else. So, but I truly enjoy just being in the shop, being able to do, what I want to do. I can't say, because I've always been in a shop working. I don't know what it is about the whole duck call environment. I guess I like when guys come in and they've done had a good hunt. I know what that feeling is. It was on cloud nine for me and my buddies to go back to Lennox and done slammed them dudes in the face in Balmeda. Tired as all get out. Looking like you did Monday morning driving back. But I'll go get me another little bit tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know you get a lot of personal satisfaction because I've seen you light up when somebody comes in and, you always, whenever we come back from shows, you want to know what everybody had to say about them calls, and I know that means a lot to you because you always ask and you can just see how, kind of like good dog when you pet them on top of the head, they just kind of.
Maybe off the subject a little bit, but I told my wife when we made them Ebonites a couple weeks back for NWTF, I told her, I said, all right, I think this may be my first pretty good one that I'm going to make. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I think there's going to be a couple people maybe want this dude.
Did you expect? Did you expect what happened to happen?
Not really. I was maybe a day or two. I didn't think we'd come back to Tennessee with none.
Yeah, I had no doubt that we'd be done with them before we come home. I didn't think I figured it'd be lunchtime on Friday. That was my guess.
Yeah.
I just figured I just didn't see Thursday being as busy as it was. But I
7 minutes.
Well, I will say there's some kind of chemistry to it because after that, had a guy come in and wanted to know. I bought an XL while I was at NWTF. He bought a blackout. He's like, what's this hype about the Ebonite? I'm not sure. Try it out for yourself. And, man, you could just hear that. It's got a duckier sound. I don't know if maybe the woodsy sound, maybe because I'm a big woods guy. I'd rather hunt the woods than anything, which who wouldn't, but for that matter. But just
I think it's the Ghost of Lester caps and the Cancer and Bakelite and all. I don't know what all's in there, but I mean.
I know it stinks up the shop while we're turning.
It sure does, but it smells good. Everybody that works in the shop knows that smell. It's like, Only person who probably didn't know what that smell was the first time they smelled it was Sarah. All the rest of us were like, somebody's cutting an old.
It smells like beef stew, boy. Everybody wants to stick their head out. We're like, what is that?
Yeah. The same when they engrave it, boy, you can really smell it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy how that brings back so many memories up for me of like, cutting a call late at night or just, they say smell is like the strongest trigger of your memory. And I guess it's probably just because I've got so many memories of trying to get one right and messing one up and just kind of, but that Ebonite, boy, it just really, when I smell it, it brings back kind of like CK1 and some of them colognes from high school. That's like, or perfume. You smell it, you're like, whoop, yeah, her name was.
Some Old Spice.
That's right. It just brings back memories. Do you enjoy bringing to life the things that people dream up, like in terms of customs? And I know sometimes a custom is just as simple as like red, white, and something else. But
a color combination.
Right. But, I mean, we've had some people come up with pretty cool things to have engraved and or things that mean something to them. It's just small stories. I feel like what I observe is that you really get a kick out of interacting with the customers and bringing that to life.
I like to see their dream, what they got going on, what their thoughts are. Because I get it, man. Everybody wants their own interaction with, a situation. They want their own personal touch to it. so to have somebody come in and, pick out something that's different is really cool. I think we got something coming up that's going to be really cool. We got a guy that's sent in a blank maybe with some ashes coming in it. So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm a personal big. He's not an animal. He is a family member, but I got a chocolate lab that's part of the family. So I know. I mean, just to be able to recreate that for that guy,
means something.
It means something. Yes,
That's right.
Because I'll have a little emotional tie to that call, just
Dang
because
right.
I got to do some of it, and I guess here we are with that passion, man. I love to get on Call Nuts or anything, Call Page or something, boy, and see some of my work. See something that I've touched, something that I've done, something that I helped this guy. This guy's like, hey, I got an idea what I want, but what do I want? I'm like, hey, I think we ought to do this,
Right.
And then to hear him say, hey, man, that looked good. That was nice. So that's the cool part about it. I guess if that was the passion part of it, it's right there. It's making somebody's, dream come true. But then to see that dude done went down there and got a lanyard full of ducks or something, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part never gets old.
No.
To me, it's like I love walking out a show and seeing somebody wear one of our hats that I don't know who they are.
Right.
It's one thing like I bump into my dad and he's wearing one of my hats. You know what I mean? Like I kind of expect that out of
If
him.
he don't support you, good
or
Lord.
my kids, right? But I mean, but you walk down the aisle of a trade show and somebody's wearing a hat and you're just like, man, where did he get that hat? Or
Right.
who you want to introduce yourself to him? And I feel the same way when I see somebody's picture come across one of those call pages where they got a string full of ducks and they, here's, great season, blah, 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 kind of, and then there's a duck call hanging on there and you don't even remember making that one. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But it meant something to them as in the number one spot. And that, I don't know, that part never gets old. It's super cool to be able to participate in their hunt that way.
It really is, because just for somebody to open up a spot for one of our calls to be on their lanyard, that's generous enough, position to be in already. So I'm excited about that. But then, to just see, some guy's creation, and he's like, hey, I think you can do this, and be able to make something, out of his thought or, whatever he's got. It's pretty cool.
Recently, along those lines, we've had a little flurry of calls that guys had made for their boys or their daughters. We've had, I don't know, a dozen or so, it seems like, between the couple pinks and purples for daughters, and we just had a guy send in some for some pink as some material for an idea he had with pink, and then we just Kobe engraved one today. I think that's super cool.
It is.
When a dad's like, this is what dad blows, here's yours.
You
know
got to
what I
have
mean?
one too.
I think that's cool as heck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a cool part of back in Arkansas. Kobe got to come up through the class with Mr. Butch and John and Jimbo and all of them, and just learn to be around that kind of environment and everything. It was a really good environment, and I guess back then I didn't know to stop and take the moment in like I should have. I wished I would have now, because to see some great duck call guys and that level, to take time out of their place, to get in, to a room full of 100 kids, everybody's blowing on a duck call, and it's just like, oh my wow, and they could make something out of that chaos. So it was pretty cool to come up through that.
Yeah.
Kind of feels special to have a guy in the shop that touches a duck call every day that still wants to blow him every time he touches them.
That's absolutely right.
It is true. I feel like Drake and Riley come in here every single day, and it's like I'll be dang, that duck call quacks when you blow on.
Yeah. Kind of like you wake up every day like, I get to go make calls. They're like, I get to go blow them.
To have them guys enjoy what they're blowing and enjoy what they're doing, but I feel like we're putting out a product that they dearly believe in.
Yeah.
You're dang right.
Absolutely.
And are proud of.
You hear me?
You can hear it you can hear it when they're blowing calls on their lunch break,
Yep.
when they're blowing them outside, inside, in the hallway. And I mean, honest to God, that's the hardest thing about being the manager of this place is because half the time I'm trying to be on an important phone call. It annoys the crap out of me, and I have to check myself. I have to go, those guys are enjoying what they're doing.
Hey, absolutely.
Yep.
It's not bad. It's just
No.
Poor timing.
No. Maybe we shouldn't make it as loud. No, we need to make it that loud. But, no, it's flattering to see them guys
for sure.
constantly, just constantly always got one of those duck calls in their hand, working on it, working with it, doing new things with it. Mm-hmm. And that's all part of that new innovation that we got coming out.
Yeah, it is. And I'll be honest with you. I've told you this before, and I've told Drake this before. The XL that I have on my lanyard is the best duck call I've ever owned, bar none. And I own hundreds of them. I have a pretty impressive Arkansas collection. I have a ton of Mr. Butch's old calls. I have quite a few Tennessee calls. I don't collect as much as John, and I don't collect as much as I used to. I've kind of, that's no longer a part of my life.
Yeah.
I understand.
I got more mouths to feed now. They eat more. But I guess my point is I've had pretty well one of all of them. And it may not fit everybody, but I can honest to God say that the duck call that's on my lanyard is the finest duck call I've ever owned.
That's exactly how I feel about my OG Brute that I bought 2 years ago. It stayed on my lanyard. I've got a one drop lanyard, and it's on there, and it's going to stay there until it breaks.
And it flatters me to know that that's your duck call of choice, to the point that's almost like winning the lottery to me.
Wow.
I mean, seriously, it feels like I've done something.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it gives all of us a little bit of pride, because we built that XL out of scratch.
exactly.
And it's been begged, borrowed, and robbed from various places of things we come up with before.
Oh, yeah.
But that really was an impressive team effort between all of us. Drake, Riley, me, you, every single one of us leaning into that because it wasn't what we thought we were gonna, when we started and when we finished. There was a lot of miles between there.
Oh, absolutely, especially from this counter to back there in the room anyway. Because I know we'd work a little bit, and it'd be like, nope,
No,
that ain't
that's
it.
not
Let's
it.
go again.
That's not it. So, anyways, we're definitely rabbit trailing now, and
Yeah.
Drake feels like it's time to go back to tuning. So.
I was just fixing to say, obviously I wasn't a part of the making of the XL, but watching y'all make the mean duck and having about that much of a part in it, and just like listening to Riley blow it, listening to you blow it, and then just be like, it's not quite there. It's like 99% of the way there, and just that the push to perfection that I see coming out of your room is incredibly impressive.
That's where my heart comes into, because I want everybody to be happy with what we're doing.
Yeah.
The number one thing, it's hard to sell somebody something when you're not believing in it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I agree with that, and I would say I would modify that a little bit and say that I realize we can't make everybody happy.
Oh, never.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we can replicate something that makes somebody happy again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's still the most important thing about the call business is if we give you a duck call, you need to be able to show that to your buddy, let your buddy blow it, and then your buddy needs to have the confidence to be able to call us up and order it and get the same duck call again.
Right.
That's the difference between, a one-off custom shop that just starts with a blank slate and builds something. That's awesome. More power to them. That's not our business. Our business is building a premium level. I wanted to say superior, but I don't want to compare ourselves to others. I'm not trying to make a superiority claim. I'm just saying make the best possible duck call, premium quality that we can make, and then be able to replicate that. And if you want that in red or pink or purple or orange or, a little combination of all that, great, we'll do that. But you need to have a starting point with us, with every model that we make, that you have confidence that it's the same. And that's I appreciate you bringing that up, because of all there's a gazillion things I appreciate about you, Mark, but that's probably the one that I appreciate the most, is the level of consistency at the calls that we're putting out over the last 6 months, 7 months, or it's been longer than that now. Gracious, it's nearly been a year.
It's only a year.
Yeah. And the ability to make suggestions on how to alter the call, and then being able to go to the machine and do exactly that. No more, no less, nothing. And the thing about the Mean Duck is the way that it was running would have been fine, but we don't do fine.
Right.
We want it to be perfect, and they hit that mark every single time.
Almost like that boy wants a paycheck this week, Mark.
You, I'm trying to earn it this week.
He drank the Kool-Aid long and hard this week. Amen. And that's a skill. That's a now that we're just, pumping up Mark's ego here, that's a skill, and it's not an accident. Most folks that don't run a CNC machine or have never operated one tend to think that you just push one button and push the other, and you just start and stop. But that machine is as fickle as another human. I mean, it has good days and bad days, and temperature changes and humidity, and
material.
That material has good days and bad days, and Spartec and Deadshot are different. And
absolutely.
Then you throw in the occasional random China rod that somebody brings through here. I mean, or micarta or ebonite. Or whatever. You name it. There's a wide variation, all that. And so, when I say I appreciate the consistency with which the product we're putting out, like your tolerances is the word in machining, right? Across those different materials and the different manufacturers, man, that helps me sleep good at night, pal.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So, anyways, and I think whenever we go to an NWTF or a Dixie Deer Classic or one of these shows, that's the one thing that I really have noticed has changed in the last year and a half. Is we've always had fans, but I've watched people over the last 6 months walk into the booth, and one guy's telling the other guy, "There's that Rolling Thunder. I've been telling you about them." Mm-hmm. And like that's a different conversation with a customer than, well, where are y'all from? Well, what do y'all make?
Let me read your shirt. Where
they're looking up at the banner. They're completely clueless, versus when somebody sees that logo and goes, "Man, I've been telling you, we need to get you." Yeah, there they are. We need to, come over here. I want to. And I watched that in Raleigh last week, and just person after person. Like, one guy would grab his buddy and go, "I told you they were here. Come over here. You need to blow this." Mm-hmm. Half of them couldn't blow it, but the guy was like, "You need to buy one. I'll help you learn how to blow it." Like, we're not even having to put the sales pitch on them, because, and I don't mean that bragging, but it gets out. Word gets out. When you're doing something good and you're able to do it over and over again, that gets passed on from one customer to his buddy. And anyways, you deserve mighty lot of the credit for that, pal.
Yep.
Well, I do appreciate it. I'd like to tell the story of how it all opened in September when we had launched the XL. And that door,
which part?
Just the people out front. Oh. I was so excited, because you always kind of question, did I do the right thing, moving, because I moved me and my family 3 hours away from all we ever knew.
Right.
This was it. So me and my wife were not necessarily questioning things, so don't take me wrong there, but we were still asking questions. And
you had faith that you were making the right decision, but faith and confident, firm knowledge are two different things.
And where the tire meets the pavement, absolutely. So, and boy, when I seen the people line up, and I was like, "Oh wow, Lord, you have blessed us." And I don't know. I knew then we had made the right decision. I knew what my calling was here. I needed to make some duck calls in Tennessee, and it was pretty cool.
It was a really cool day. And
it was.
It was wild.
I remember getting here, and there was just one or two people here, and I didn't know whether there'd be 100 people here lined up at the door or whether there'd be 2. The fact that there was one meant something. But between what did we open at 10 o'clock? Between 8 and 9:30. It was like
exploded.
it went from one person to a gazillion.
It was almost like people were watching. Yeah. People were driving by, seeing the crowd get bigger and bigger, and stopping, going, "I wonder what's going on over here."
When I pulled in and saw one, I was a little disappointed right out the gate, and I remember thinking as I pulled back, my first thought was, well, I guess we aren't going to have any parking problems. And then my second thought was, okay, this will be all right. We're going to have to earn our stripes. And then, it was like floodgates opened, and it was like, okay, wait a minute.
This is really happening.
This is really happening. And, it felt, you said this, and so I'm going to echo it, and because I felt the same thing. You could feel the Spirit of the good Lord blessing the work that we were doing. And, that needs to be said because he deserves the credit at the end of the day.
He's the only reason I can do what I do.
Absolutely.
But I still hold on to what you said that morning, that Monday morning meeting after we got done. He was like, y'all, I hope you hold on to that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I think about that often because that's, I guess, part of what fuels my fire.
Mm-hmm.
What makes me want to get up in the morning and move around is that kind of motivation. And then another moment we had was pretty cool was the Evan Height at NWTF. You launched them. I'm not really sure where, what, when, but that morning I woke up on Facebook. I think I must have had 3 or 4 messages, 2 or 3 anyway, before I got in the shower. I was like, oh, yeah, this is probably going to go over pretty
Yeah. I don't know that you can call it a launch because I don't even think it had time to have liftoff. It was gone that fast.
Yeah, I think if we'd honestly, 2 things about that. Had we have understood that was kind of the demand, number one, we would have just made more of them.
Absolutely.
And number 2, we would have been prepared with here's where we're going to line. But we were clueless.
We didn't tell people
the
where
first
the booth
10 of them we sold, we had clamshells laying on the floor. We were packaging Mr. Fox pot calls, and they were stepping over people and handing it. And I'll never forget the last guy bought 4, and he grabbed the 3 off the thing. He said, "Can I buy more than one?" We said, "Yes, sir." And he grabbed those 3, and we had that Jack Daniel's whiskey barrel in the middle of the booth that we had all the new products on. And he goes, "How about this display model?" And I said, "Yes, sir, that one was counted in." It's just like I was literally, when he grabbed the display model, I was on my hands and knees packaging, clamshell and calls, because there weren't 26 people in the whole show yet, and the first 25 go straight to our booth. Buy that Evan Height.
Yeah. The guy that took it off the barrel reached over Levi packaging a Fox call to grab it. And we didn't push it on social media. We didn't make this big campaign. The only picture that I know of that came out, Drake put something on Facebook with the dust from sanding it.
Yeah.
And just said, you know what that means. 7 minutes later, they were gone.
Yeah, crazy. Well, anyways, we've rabbit trailed again, but Mark, I want you to know how much I appreciate your involvement here. I mean, you're one of the team, obviously, and we're all just a cog in the bigger wheel. I think one of the coolest things about this place is that everybody here's got a role. Everybody plays a role, and some days some of us carry more weight than others, but we're definitely a team in the sense of we all are a link in the chain, and we don't have any extra staff. I mean, in case you're wondering, just go back here and look how many calls need to be polished and find out where the wing cleats are. You know it. So I don't say, I'm not bragging on you to belittle anybody else or to place a hierarchy, because it takes all of us, but you play a special role and a mighty big one, and I appreciate it.
Well, I definitely appreciate the invite to be here, and it takes absolutely everybody up here to do this. There's not one person that could do any of it by themselves. It takes everybody.
No doubt about it. All right, well, on that note, you're going to
wrap it up.
Yeah, you're going to give us your little telltale.
Well, we appreciate y'all stopping by, listening in. This has been another episode of the Rolling Thunder Podcast.
We'll catch you on the next one.